Welcome back. You're watching Africa Prime, and tonight, as I said, we are talking to Tun Musa Hitam. He is the chairman of the World Islamic Economic Conference. In addition to that, he's certainly been around the block. Let me read some of his titles for you. He's a former chairman of the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association, a member of the board of UNESCO, leader of the Commonwealth missions to countries such as Malawi, Pakistan, and Fiji, and member of the Commonwealth Ministers' delegations to Nigeria, Sierra Leone, Pakistan, the Gambia, as well as the Sierra Leone I have mentioned. Now, when we went to the break, I said I wanted to explain the Tun part to your name. But you're also a former Deputy Prime Minister of Malaysia. For 5 years, you were setting policy, you were helping Malaysia develop. And for those efforts, you were recognized. What does the title Tun mean?
Well, for easy understanding,
yes,
especially those who are British-oriented, it's like a knighthood, to put it quite simply.
Sir.
Yeah, it's an award that the king gives to those who have been recognized as having served the nation.
What were you being recognized for?
Well, I don't really know, to be honest with you, because I had been in politics for ever so long. I had a different portfolio from trade and industry that led into investment, foreign investments into Malaysia, to natural resources, where I think I played a very important part, talking about the very subject we just talked about, and dealing with those subjects. I've been Minister of Education, I've been Minister of Home Affairs, and I've been dealing with all sorts of matters relating to international relations, particularly at the level of the economy, like World Trade Organization, UNCTAD, GATT. Those were the days, and then the formation of, in our region, of ASEAN, and of course you mentioned the Commonwealth. These are the whole range of things that I had to do during the course of my life. So I guess a collection of them all had deserved me this one. You
certainly have put in a full shift. But you're also, of course, Deputy Prime Minister to Dr. Mahathir Mohamad, who many of us in Africa know for his opposition to apartheid during the dark days of apartheid. And you were part of the voices, I would imagine, that were speaking out against that system here in South Africa. Now, when you look now, years on, are you seeing Malaysia still standing side by side with Africa and South Africa as it did during apartheid, and this being reflected in the numbers in terms of the business interest that we're seeing between the two countries?
Well, indeed, Dr. Mahathir needs to be credited. Actually, our first Prime Minister too was responsible for South Africa's expulsion from the Commonwealth. You may remember those very controversial days. Dr. Mahathir followed it up in a very active way. There's no doubt about it. And
were you personally involved?
Yes, well, not personally involved, except that when I was part of the government, this was Dr. Mahathir's own pet project, if I may say. He was very passionate about it. So to the extent that I represented Malaysia in many fora at the United Nations and other fora like the Commonwealth and all that, yes, of course, we did express the Malaysian government or people stand against that. But that is something that, that represents the years gone by. Now,
here we are.
Yes, here we are.
Calls.
Yes, here we
Africa
are.
is growing again.
Seeing what's happening.
Malaysia, friend of Africa.
Yes.
Where are you?
Africa was at that time static. Indeed, it was going backward, as you may remember if you look at history. Those days, now Africa has almost arrived in the sense ready to, or in fact, on the launching pad. Now, what do? We concentrate on the practical aspects of trade and development and investments. Now, where we can, where we've managed to identify the possibilities based on, remember what I was saying earlier, win-win situation. Yes. We should not and could not make the same mistakes as what was done to us. When we become investors, we must do what we preach. Now, in this particular sense, there are quite a number of projects that Malaysia is involved in.
Let's speak about them.
Yes, okay. Let's start with South Africa. I must make a public confession here, and that is I also wear a few other different hats.
Yes, I saw you're chairman of 3 listed companies.
Yes. let me mention one. One listed company is actually a huge plantation company. It's also the biggest listed company on the stock exchange in Malaysia. And we employ 100,000 people. We're in 20 countries. And one of the 20 countries is South Africa. We have got quite a big plant here. Actually, I'll be coming back to South Africa wearing that other hat
now.
Here, yeah, to be looking at this particular project that involves something like 300,000, 300 over million your money, South African money, rand,
South
yes,
African
yes.
rand.
That is on a basis of expanding what we already have here, and that is what we call downstream development of palm oil.
Right.
Now, if for
Name
those
the
who do
company,
not know,
please, for those who don't know,
sorry,
name the
no,
company.
I feel that it might not be proper because it's not ethical for me to take the opportunity of mentioning the company here. I think it's not quite right in that sense to publicize and take the opportunity. All I can say is that people can recognize it in the sense that that palm oil is crude, is refined downstream to the extent that a lot of your cookies and your breads and everything use this, as much as it is being done in the whole of Western Europe. Sure. We have the same, somewhat similar plant in Rotterdam that supplies the whole of Western Europe. But the significance of this, now talking about win-win, is that not only are we expanding this plant, we are also setting up a very, very advanced research center. Research center for further development. This research center is very important because we are a food product based company. Right. That is one of the things that we have. That's for me directly that involves ourselves. We've got a few other investments in your tourist industry. There are some Malaysians involved, and of course our national oil company has been indirectly involved, and I imagine that there will be more. Spreading out of South Africa, for example, I've just been to Liberia and met the president there. What the vice president attended was to plant the first oil palm. We're investing there. It's a huge piece of land that we are developing. If I may say, not jungle land, not forest land that we are cutting, land that had been developed and had been neglected ever so long. We bought that over, becomes ours, and we're developing this. And very, very interesting, let me say quite proudly, that we build schools, we build clinics and hospitals. It was so nice. My first day is there to see hundreds of people lining up to go to the clinic, and they say 100 people a day in that little start place, and a school where children are there. We build the roads, we build the infrastructure to that. And this is the normal thing. And we're beginning to have Liberians come to Malaysia to be trained, and we already have a few of them heading as managers at that level. Yes. That's what I mean again by win-win situation.
I was actually going to make the distinction that, so you are making a distinction between the type of investment that's coming out of Malaysia versus, for instance, the type of investment that has been coming from other parts of the world, and I'll be very general here, the West as well as the East.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
That's the point you're making.
Well, I do not know. I do not want to run other countries down.
I know you don't want conflict.
Yes, yes, but you know, I have been told that there have been companies rather than countries, you know, that are not even desired or not asked to comply to this idea of sustainability and responsibility. Now, this is again the point that I keep on driving within Malaysia and with all the friends I meet from other parts of the world, to make it work, to make economic collaboration and cooperation work. It must be on a win-win situation. One of the first things I did when we started in Indonesia, our neighbor, with a huge, again, area for development, was to publicly make a statement to say, we are not here for a quick buck, we are not here to make money and run, we are here to stay. And we are staying, and we give scholarships to the young men and women, we give housing, we build the infrastructure. That is the sort of thing that needs to be done.
Yeah, so let's talk about those other areas where you're seeing opportunity across the African continent. We've spoken about Liberia, we've spoken about South Africa, but you haven't really spoken about the big one that everyone, when they come to Africa, talk about. That's Nigeria. Any things that you're seeing there?
No, I must confess that we are not in Nigeria yet, because our specialty, for example, in plantation, requires huge pieces of land, and also that area has been found to be, so far, found to be not quite suitable for plantation.
Okay, but you have looked at Nigeria.
Yes, we have looked at it. Actually, let me tell you frankly that what we look at, the way we look at it is by region. Let's say South Africa, we're talking about we're talking about Kenya, we're talking about Botswana, how we can supply the food chain into this, the edible oils we're talking about. Now, when we talk about Nigeria, it is included in the West African area. That's why when Liberia comes in and we're going to Cameroon, for example, these would feed there, that region there. Right. And will be to supply the products to that region, and of course the extra will be exported to Europe, for example.
Yeah, we recently had a discussion around trade relations between China and Africa, and one of the points that was made by one of the participants was that we're hearing a lot about money that's coming from the East coming into Africa, but rarely are we hearing that African companies are also beginning to look outward, investing into places such as China, such as India, and I guess in this instance, such as Malaysia.
With due respect, the state of development in your part of the world is not quite up to that level where you can export your technology, your knowledge, your technical know-how, your money that needs to be in that respect. Let's say if you were, and actually I think South Africa is indeed a rich African country as compared to others. If you were a rich country, let's get out of Africa, let's go to the Middle East, for example. If you were them with lots of money, they would invest, as indeed they are.
Right.
Investing in the area of...
so the need is more in Africa than it is outside
Yes, I think so. You need first investments to come here. In this particular respect, let me give you the second challenge. We're talking about the first one. Second challenge is that you must learn how to prioritize. Sure. That's very important. Sure. If indeed here is a question of unemployment, so many young people are unemployed, try to get to create jobs where there is lots of labor-intensive industries that need them. And if you don't do that, you're going to see these kids who are very restless. They see other things develop. They say, what's in it for us? When they have jobs, well, back to where we started, and that is for overall economic development at the lowest level.
Absolutely, that is Africa's biggest challenge. But that conversation, I guess, we could have, and it could take us another hour before we come to the end.
That would be nice, but not here. Yes.
But another time.
Yes,
another time. I must thank you very much indeed for finding time to come and talk to us here on Africa Prime and talking about the challenges that Africa is facing. That's Tun Musa Hitam. He is chairman, as I said earlier, of 3 publicly listed companies. He hasn't given us the name of those, but we shall be finding them out. But he's also chairman of the Malaysia-China Business Council, and of course chairman in its capacity that we spoke to him today of the World Islamic Economic Conference. That's it for us from tonight. Good night.